Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well, and welcome to, depending on wherever you may live, or however you may look at your clock, this early morning or middle of the night bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click the bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment and share this video. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. And folks, they really do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into this middle of the night or early morning bonus upload. Shall we? James Schnabel tells the story of the United States intelligence community's involvement in a controversial issue of psychic spying that largely began in the early to mid-70s. Commenting on the skills of a talented remote viewer in relation to the matters of UFO nature, one Pat Price. Schnabel noted Price was of the opinion that Alaska's Mount Hayes, the jewel of the glacial range northeast of Anchorage, housed one of the aliens' largest bases. According to Pat Price, the aliens that lived deep inside of Mount Hayes were very human-looking, differing only in their heart, lungs, blood, and eyes. Ominously, he adds that these aliens use thought transfer for motor control of us. Price added, the site has also been responsible for strange activity and malfunction of the United States and Soviet space objects. Rather notably, despite the controversial nature of this, we find that the United States military took a great deal of interest in tales of UFO activity in Alaska in the formative years of the subject. For example, formerly classified FBI files tell of startling UFO encounters in Alaska in the period of 1947 through 1950. It was in August of 1947 that a highly impressive account of a UFO incident involving two serving members of the military was supplied to the FBI in Anchorage. The report began, this is to advise that two Army officers reported to the office of the Director of Intelligence Headquarters, Alaskan Department, at Fort Richardson, Alaska, that they had witnessed an object passing through the air at a tremendous rate of speed, which could not be judged as to miles per hour. According to the official report, the UFO was initially sighted by only one of the two officers, but he soon alerted his colleague to the strange sight. The object appeared to be shaped like a sphere and did not give the impression of being saucer-like or comparable to a disc. The first officer stated that it would be impossible to give minute details concerning the object, but that it appeared to be approximately 2 or 3 feet in diameter and did not leave any vapor trail in the sky. Experienced officer that he was, in his first attempt to gauge the altitude of the object and from a comparison with cloud formations in the area, he determined that whatever the nature of the mysterious sphere, it was cruising at a height of more than 10,000 feet. And it should be noted that to be at such a height and still visible, in all probability the UFO must have exceeded by the wide margin the initial size estimate of 2 to 3 feet. When questioned, the second officer gave a substantially similar account, the only marked difference being that in his opinion he considered the object to have been approximately 10 feet in diameter and compared to it, half the size of a full moon on an ordinary night. This discrepancy in size was apparently due to the fact that the second officer believed the UFO was more likely to have been at the height of 3,000 to 4,000 feet rather than the altitude of 10,000 feet, as had been suggested by his colleague. The difference of opinion over the altitude and size of the object may or may not have been significant. The important factor, however, was that both officers agreed some type of anomalous object most definitely had been seen. And as the report concluded, the second officer pointed out that one of the remarkable features of this report was that it was definitely traveling against the wind. Shortly afterward, the FBI office at Anchorage reported to the Bureau Director, J. Edgar Hoover, that we have been able to locate a flyer who observed some flying object near Bethel, Alaska, in July of 1947. The report to Hoover continued. The pilot relayed that the occasion of seeing the flying object near Bethel was on a July day, when the sky was completely clear of clouds, and it being during the early part, it was daylight the entire night. The time of the sighting of this flying object was about 10 p.m., and the sun had just dropped beyond the horizon. Flying weather was extremely good, and he was coming into Bethel Airport with a DC. On approaching the airport, the pilot was amazed to see to his left an unidentified craft the size of a C-54 without any fuselage, which seemed to resemble a flying wing. As a result of this unique shape, the pilot was initially unable to determine whether the object was heading towards his aircraft or away from it, and elected to make a 45-degree turn in attempt to defuse any possible chance of collision. The FBI noted that the pilot was certain that the craft was free of any external power source, such as a propeller-driven engine, and exhibited no exhaust as it flew by. The document added, he called on the radio to the Civil Aeronautics Administration station at Bethel asking what aircraft was in the vicinity, and they had no report of any aircraft. The object he cited was some 5 or 10 miles from the airport before his arrival, and he stated that the path did not go directly across the airport. He, of course, could not tell whether the object was making any noise, and stated that it was flying at a 1,000-foot altitude and estimated travel at 300 miles per hour. It was traveling in the direction from Bethel to Nome, which is in a northwesterly direction. He noted no radio interference and is unable to describe the color other than it appeared dark, but of definite shape, and did not blend into the sky, but had definite outline. He clearly observed the object at this time. As the 1940s drew to a close and a new decade dawned, the FBI continued to receive and log high-quality UFO reports on a regular basis. Of those, one of the more credible related to the noteworthy series of encounters that occurred in Alaskan airspace over the course of 2 days in the early 50s, forwarded to the FBI by the official U.S. Navy source. The confidential 3-page intelligence report paints a startling picture of multiple UFO encounters involving the military, titled Unidentified Phenomena in the Vicinity of Kodiak, Alaska. It concerns a report of sightings of unidentified airborne objects by various naval personnel on the 22nd and 23rd of January 1950. The author of the report noted, At 220240W, January, Lieutenant Smith, United States Navy Patrol Plane Commander of P2V3, number 4 of Patrol Squadron, reported an unidentified radar contact 20 miles north of the Naval Air Station, Kodiak, Alaska. When this contact was first made, Lieutenant Smith was flying the Kodiak Security Patrol at 0243W. 8 minutes later, a radar contact was made on an object 10 miles southwest of NAS, or Naval Air Station, Kodiak. Lieutenant Smith checked with the control tower to determine known traffic in the area and was informed there was none. During this period, the radar operator, Gasky, ALC, United States Navy, reported intermittent radar interference of a type never experienced before. Contact was lost at this time, but intermittent interference continued. Smith and Gasky were not the only two to report that unidentified vehicles had intruded into Alaskan airspace. At the time of these encounters, the USS Tilbrook was anchored in the vicinity of Buoy 19 in the nearby Man Ship Canal. On board of the Tilbrook was a seaman named Morgan, first name unknown, who was standing watch. At some point between 0200 and 0300 hours, Morgan reported that a very fast-moving red light, which appeared to be of exhaust nature, seemed to come from a southeast, moved clockwise in a large circle in the direction of and around Kodiak and returned out in a generally southeast direction. Perhaps not quite believing what he was seeing, Morgan alerted one of his shipmates, Carver, to the strange spectacle, and both watched as the UFO made a return flight. According to the testimony of Morgan and Carver, the object was in sight for the estimate of 30 seconds. No odor or sound was detected, and the object was described to have the appearance of a ball of fire about 1 foot in diameter. The report then records yet another encounter with the mysterious visitor. At 220440W, conducting routine Kodiak security patrol, Lieutenant Smith reported a visual sighting of an unidentified airborne object at the range of 5 miles on the starboard bow. This object showed indications of great speed on the radar scope. The trailing edge of the blip gave a tail-like indication. Lieutenant Smith quickly advised the rest of the crew of the PV-23 number 24 that a UFO was in sight, and all watched fascinated as the strange vehicle soared overhead at a speed estimated to have been around 1,800 miles per hour. Smith climbed to intercept the UFO and vainly tried to circle it. Needless to say, its high speed and remarkable maneuverability ensured that Smith's actions were futile. However, neither Lieutenant Smith nor his crew was quite prepared for what happened next. Subsequently, the object seemed to be opening the range, the official report reads, and Smith attempted to close the range. The UFO was observed to open out somewhat, then to turn to the left and come up to Smith's quarter. Smith considered this to be a highly threatening gesture and turned out all the lights in his aircraft. 4 minutes later, the object disappeared from view in a southeasterly direction. At 0435 hours on the following day, Lieutenants Barco and Cusser of Patrol Squadron 1 were conducting the Kodiak Security Patrol when they too sighted an unidentified aerial vehicle. At the time of their encounter, the aircraft in which the officers were flying was approximately 62 miles south of Kodiak. For 10 minutes, Barco and Cusser, along with the pilot, Captain Paulson, watched stunned as a mysterious object twisted and turned in the Alaskan sky. An assessment of these reports read thus. Number 1, to Lieutenant Smith and crew, it appeared as two orange lights rotating about a common center, like two jet aircraft making slow rolls in a tight formation. It had a wide speed range. 2, to Morgan and Carver, it appeared as a reddish-orange ball of fire, about 1 foot in diameter, traveling at a high rate of speed. Number 3, to Cusser, Barco, and Paulson, it appeared to be pulsating orange-yellow projectile-shaped flame with regular periods of pulsation on a 3 to 5 seconds. Later, as the object increased the range, the pulsations appeared to increase to on 7 or 8 seconds and off 7 and 8 seconds. The final comment on the encounters reads, in view of the fact that no weather balloons were known to have been released with any reasonable time before the sightings, it appears that the object or objects were not balloons. If not balloons, the objects must be regarded as a phenomena, possible meteorites, the exact nature of which could not be determined by this office. The meteorite theory for this series of encounters is particularly puzzling. It goes without saying that meteorites do not stay in sight for approximately 30 seconds. Meteorites do not close in on military aircraft in what is deemed to be a highly threatening gesture, and they do not appear as two orange lights rotating about a common center. In other words, it seems safe to conclude that genuinely phenomenon were indeed witnessed by experienced military personnel at Kodiak, Alaska in January of 1950. Does any of this prove that there really is an alien base deep within Alaska's Mount Hayes, as Pat Price suggests? No, of course not. But in view of all of the above, perhaps it's someone took a closer look at Price's claim. Just in case. In his 1997 book, Remote Viewers, James Schnabel told the story of the United States intelligence community involvement in the controversial issue of psychic espionage that began broadly in the early 70s. Commenting on the skills of a talented remote viewer in relation to UFO matters, one Pat Price, Schnabel noted that Price was of the opinion on Mount Hayes in Alaska, the jewel of the glacial series northeast of Anchorage, is one of the main alien bases. According to Pat Price, the aliens living inside of Mount Hayes look very human, differing only in their heart, lungs, blood, and eyes. Ominously, he adds, the aliens use thought transference to control us. Price adds this site has been responsible for the strange activity and also malfunctions the United States and Soviet Union space objects. One of the largest extraterrestrial bases inhabited by beings similar to humans apparently capable of controlling thoughts may be in the mountains of Alaska. Of course, Pat's claims have not been officially confirmed. I don't know. To me, Alaska makes sense. You've got plenty of land. You've got a vast wilderness where things can hide very easily, be built without being noticed very easily. Also, if we look at the amount of persons that mysteriously disappear in Alaska every year. Kodiak Island, Alaska. Since authorities began keeping record in 1988, 60,700 people have been reported missing in Alaska. That's 5 people reported missing every year per 1,000 residents. Each year, an average of 2,250 people disappear in Alaska, twice the national average. Some of these people are found alive and well, and the remains of others are found, but many disappear without a trace. Most of Alaska is a vast, untamed wilderness, and it draws adventurers from around the world to climb the mountains, kayak the raging rivers, or simply experience nature in its rawest form. Alaska also attracts dropouts, those running from the law or the responsibilities of their lives, and young people trying to find themselves or wishing to experience a wilderness lifestyle. Reality rarely matches the fantasy. There's a reason so few people live in the rugged wilderness of Alaska. Alaska is a place of extremes. The state is defined by bitter cold temperatures, raging rivers, harsh storms, treacherous mountains, wild predators at the top of the food chain. Those who have lived a lifetime in the wilderness respect the dangers and know not to take them lightly. Still, sometimes, even those knowledgeable about the wilderness and its perils disappear.
Well, there you have it, folks. This middle of the night or early morning bonus upload. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. A lot of very interesting things right there. Guys, thanks for supporting the channel. It is your support, after all, that keeps this channel growing and going. And honestly, what gives people a chance and a place to share their experiences and theories judgment free. Everyone, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, our pets, our family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there and dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for answers, and God bless.